The following podcast is going to contain spoilers, along with me, just a regular guy, talking about all the things I love, such as comics, movies, television, music, and books. So yeah, proceed at your own risk. Well, hey folks, welcome to another episode of Just Another Fanboy. I'm your host, my name is Steven, and I'm here to talk to you about stuff. Doesn't that sound exciting? I'm going to talk to you about some stuff. Yippee! First, before I get into whatever it is I'm going to talk about, because this is going to be one of those episodes where I really have no idea. I have one subject I want to talk about real quick. It'll probably just take a few minutes. It's a bit of me trying to get you to do some stuff. Not really. I'm not. That's a dumb thing to say because now it feels like I'm doing like one of those frickin' telethons. Please do this for me. That's not what I'm going to do here. Good Lord, this is starting just horribly. This has gone awry. We're not even 2 minutes in and this is just gone down the crapper. Actually, it's probably more than 2 minutes because I always forget that the frickin' theme song is kind of long. So yeah, I have something I want to talk about real quick. Going to take it down a level here, folks. I'm a little manic right now. Not Mannix. Never watched that show, but I'm a little manic. I did watch some Manimal. I feel like I used to watch Manimal back in the 80s, but not Mannix, which I think was from the 60s, maybe the 70s. I don't know. But we're going to take it down a bit here because after I finally end up getting to this little teeny bit of information I want to talk about, the rest of the episode is just gonna curl off the old tongue like smoke out of a water pipe. Really, honestly, all I wanted to do was just tell you, hey, this is not the only podcast I do. If you're not aware, I also do a podcast called Steven or Else. Now, it's been kind of silent for a long time, because it's not the same kind of podcast that we have here on Just Another Fanboy. Just Another Fanboy was a show that I had actually started over 10 years ago, did, I feel like almost 200 episodes, close to 200 episodes, maybe 150. I don't quite remember. And then I stopped podcasting because I did it for almost 3 years. And then I stopped podcasting and was away from podcasting for about a decade. And then I came back this past September. Maybe even earlier. I don't remember. And I started doing Steven or Else. And I did 30 or so episodes of that. And then life happened and I had to kind of stop for a bit. But I wanted to bring it back and I did. And I brought it back as a whole new kind of show. And after about 10 episodes, realized that it's not something I can do weekly. It's not an easy show to create. And from that, I decided to come back and start doing Just Another Fanboy again, because Just Another Fanboy, as you're probably well aware, is just me sitting in a car talking about comics or TV or books or whatever the heck I want to talk about. It's pretty easy. There's not a lot of work I have to put into these shows, especially a show like this one right here. I didn't even take notes. I have no notes at all for this episode. If I'm talking about a specific book or a series of books, I will take some notes. I will jot down some notes. Steven or Else, on the other hand, is about 95% scripted. Each episode started out with a sketch. I would talk for a little bit. I'd do a segment about comics. I would do a segment about weird headlines from around the world, news stories that I thought were interesting. I would do a fake commercial. 30 seconds of nonsense. I had a segment, or have, I don't want to say had, because one of the points I'm going to be making here is that I'm currently creating new episodes, but I do a sketch on there called Ask the Abners, where you have Abner Franks and his father, Abner Franks, and they answer questions from the audience. They're supposed to answer questions from the listeners, but I've never gotten a question from the listeners, so I have to make them up. Anyway, it's just it's very scripted. It's very produced. It takes a lot of time and a lot of work and a lot of effort. And I have to feel creative. First of all, it's not hard to go out and find a couple of news articles. It's not hard for me to talk about a comic book. But when it comes to the sketches, that part of the show, I have to feel creative. And one thing I have learned about myself over the years, because I've written a couple of books, and I've been writing for over a decade, but I've only written 2 books. Well, two books and a book of short stories. And what I've learned about myself is I have creative bursts. I could have 3 or 4 months where I'm just feeling super creative and I churn some stuff out. And then as soon as that creative burst is done, then I could go for another 3 or 4 months without writing word one. And that kind of happened with Stephen or Else. It kind of culminated into I had some stuff going on in life. So I was I didn't have a lot of time during the week to put a lot of work into it. And usually when I'm really busy like that, that's usually when the creative juices stop flowing. They're just not there. I have no time for it. And so that part of my brain just shuts down. It's kind of like when you're on the Enterprise and something has happened and they have to divert power from one part of the ship to the other. That's what happens in my brain. I have to start focusing on work or family or something beyond any creative endeavor, so my mind diverts the resources from parts of my brain to other parts to do all that. I'm going to unzip my coat for a second. I don't know if that was auditorily satisfying. I don't even know if auditorily is a word. Probably not. It's not the point. But I have started feeling creative again, and I have been doing what I did what I have been wanting to do for a long time, which is move Stephen or Else off of the podcast hosting service it was on and moving it to the one that I'm using for Just Another Fanboy. And when I did that, I have to re-upload the 13 episodes that I had recorded and put out so far. So I've been reposting them, retweeting about them. Hey, here's an episode that came out that I originally posted back in August, and bit bop boppity boop. So I guess it was way before. When I say I started podcasting again back in September, I'm talking about Just Another Fanboy. It was actually maybe September of 2018. Doesn't really matter. I just wanted to make sure that you all knew that was out there. And here's the thing. There's a third podcast I was doing called Event or Else. And I want to get back to that and kind of retool it a bit. And I've got some big plans for it that hopefully you will see bear its fruit over the summer. But if there's one place I could point you to make sure that you are availing yourself to anything that I might create, because while Just Another Fanboy comes out every Monday and Thursday, Stephen or Else is not on any kind of regular schedule. It's going to post on Wednesdays when the new episodes start coming out. It's going to post on Wednesdays, but it's one of those shows because it takes so much effort to create one. The episodes are just going to have to come out when they're ready. I can't say it's going to be every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, or it's going to be every 2 weeks, or it's going to be every week or whatever, because they're just going to come out when they come out. I've got a new episode in the can ready to go, and I'm currently working on a second new episode. So hopefully I'm entering into one of my 3 to 4 month long creative bursts, and I can roll out another 10 or so episodes, and maybe I'll just wrap that up into the first season of Stephen or Else, and then officially take some actual time off and then start working on other episodes. Because I would like them to come out regularly. They just don't right now. Which is why I started doing Just Another Fanboy, because I wanted to be able to put something out there that was regular and on time. And boy, I'm as regular as they come. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Bowel movement humor. That's the depths to which we have sunk. But if you want to, if there's one place I could point you to so you can make sure that you have access to anything I might put out as far as a podcast, I would direct you to a feed called Everything or Else. And that's ORR. Everything or Else. Every episode of Just Another Fanboy, every episode of Stephen or Else, every episode of Event or Else, they're out there on that feed. And in fact, the original version of Stephen or Else, the 30 or so episodes I did before I just took those down and retooled it to create what is now the Stephen or Else that is out there now. That's the only place you can get those older episodes. So Everything or Else, that's where I wanted to point you to. I also do another podcast called My Other Podcast. It releases every Friday, and it's only available to folks who are my patrons over at patreon.com/Stephen R. Orr. And I'm not asking a lot over there to have access to that, just $1 a month. That's all I'm going to say about that. So I don't know when this episode is going to come out. I think this is going to be episode 86. And now that I've actually said it, it's probably going to have to be episode 86. But I record these episodes anywhere up to a week or two ahead of time. The good thing about Just Another Fanboy is I have specifically designed these to a certain extent not to be timely. I do read the occasional new comic now and again, and I do watch new episodes of something that may show up on Netflix or Disney Plus. And those, if I'm recording about a new show that I'm watching, I will get those episodes out as soon as possible. You know, when the first episode of The Mandalorian hit, I think I had the episode talking about that out the next day. But I also have episodes that I record and they're just there and they're ready to go if I need them, because the whole point is not to fall behind on this show. And so I'm always at least 4 episodes or 2 weeks ahead. So I'm actually recording this episode on Valentine's Day. And I want to tell you a little personal story from the life of me, because all 3 of my children are in choir in school. I've got 1 child in middle school and 2 children in high school. My 2 high school kids are in a group called the Singers. And it's kind of like choir plus. You have to try out to be a member of Singers. And they both tried out, they both got in. The boy, he's a senior, the girl, she's a sophomore. And every year on Valentine's Day, actually the day before and on Valentine's Day, they do this thing called singing Valentines. And people can pay a fee in town and in the surrounding towns to have our singers group go to somebody's house and sing them a song. And last year, when the alert went out that, okay, singing Valentines are now on sale, I said, I'm gonna do that for my wife. But I'm not going to tell her. I'm not going to tell Karen that I'm going to do a singing Valentine. It's going to be a surprise. She works at one of the schools. So the last week, the week of the deadline of ordering your singing Valentine, Karen says to me, hey, you should get me a singing Valentine. And I just went, woman, do you know how hard it is to surprise you? And she's like, what? And I said, I've already done that. But now you're just, if I don't say something, when you get your singing, it was supposed to be a surprise, but now when you get it, you're just going to assume I only did it because you told me to. But I ordered that sucker 2 weeks ago. And she's like, oh, that's really nice. I love you. Ooh, boo, 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 you know, smoochy, smoochy. And so she got her singing Valentine and she loved it and all that and then some. So then this year rolls around and the alert goes out. Okay, they're on sale. And she's like, oh, by the way, did you see that? Hint, hint. And I said, yes, I saw it. Again, how can I surprise you if you're telling me to get you this stuff? And she goes, I know. And here's the thing. I say that jokingly because I am really bad about surprises. Because when I put something together that is supposed to be a surprise, if I buy her a gift or if I do something, I have something planned to surprise her, it's really hard just not to tell her. It's just really hard. And usually I fail and I end up saying something to her about it. And she knows that. So last week, I'm sitting on the living room couch and she's walking through the room and she goes, oh, hey, did you get that singing Valentine ordered? And I just went cold and I said, oh, crap. I completely forgot. I said, is the deadline passed? And she goes, yes, the deadline's passed. And I'm not lying. I completely forgot to order her singing Valentine. And so she gives me like this look, you know, that's like, I'm angry at you, but, you know, not really angry, you know, just, you know, if you're married, you know what I'm talking about. And she goes, okay, well, I guess I just won't have them singing to me this year, and goes off to the other room. And I immediately pick up my phone and I email the choir director and I tell her, hey, is it too late? Are you guys going to be at the school where she works on Thursday or Friday? Because if you are, if it's not too late, could you please do a singing Valentine for her in the name of true love? And I gave her this big speech about how if there's one thing that the Princess Bride has taught us is that there is no more honorable thing out there than true love. Could you please do this for me in the name of true love? And she writes back and she's like, okay, that made my day. That I laughed. She goes, I don't know if we're going to the school, But if we do, then we'll totally do that. And as I'm reading it back, I realize she says the name of the wrong school. And so I write her back and I said, no, it's the other school. And she goes, oh, we're totally going to that school. You might get lucky. And I was like, yeah. And then yesterday I get an email from her. And this is yesterday, the day before Valentine's Day. I get an email from the choir director and she goes, okay, Stephen, it's your lucky day. We will be at her school at 8:40 a.m. And so this morning at about 8:45, I texted my wife and I just said, Happy Valentine's Day, and gave her a little winky emoji thing. And she writes back and says, you are a liar. And I told her the truth. I said, no, I never lied to you. I completely forgot about it. Remind me to read the email that I sent to the choir director when I get home. So that turned out to be a good Valentine's Day already, because we're not the couple that does that. We don't do Valentine's, Both of us are of the opinion that, if you're telling each other I love you every day, if you're doing nice things for each other every day or almost every day or as often as you can, what's the point of Valentine's Day? Because then it truly is a day just to sell stuff. And I do, I bought each of the kids and my wife a box of chocolates, heart-shaped box of chocolates for Valentine's Day. We do that. But it's not, it's Valentine's Day, we have to go out and have a nice meal and celebrate our love. We celebrate our love every day, all right? Hallmark. But we do the do that we do. We do the singing Valentine. That's what I was trying to say before I got caught up in another bowel movement joke. Because God knows I love me a good bowel movement joke. Oh, good Lord. All right, well, I don't really think I have a lot more to talk about. Not really. Did I mention that this is probably going to be episode 86? Because that makes me think that episode 100 is going to be coming up pretty soon. Should we do something for episode 100? Should we do something fun? I don't have a lot of resources to do anything really fun. Back in the old days, I think at episode 100, the first episode 100 of Just Another Fanboy, I was able to get on Skype and listeners called in and I talked to listeners. But I can't really do that since I just record into my phone sitting in my car. Should we do like an Ask Me Anything? I don't know. Give me some ideas, folks. How do we celebrate episode number 100? And I had this whole plan for April because I started doing some math. And between all the episodes of my other podcast, which, again, as of the time I'm recording this, episode number 118 of my other podcast was released. Between those, the original episodes of Stephen or Else, the new episodes of Stephen or Else, all the episodes of Just Another Fanboy, and all the episodes of Event or Else that are out so far, sometime in April, I will have recorded 300 episodes since I started podcasting again back in 2018, 2019. And I was going to do something really big for that. And the more I started thinking about it, the more I decided, nah. I couldn't find the correct balance of when is this going to happen compared to when other episodes are coming out. Because the idea was I was just going to record this mega episode and just call it episode 300 and then release it as a Just Another Fanboy episode, as a My Other Podcast episode, and as a Stephen or Else episode. I'd be like, hello and welcome to My Other Just Another Fanboy Stephen or Else podcast. Kaboom! Something dumb like that. I don't know. But then I thought, nah. And yet I may still do that. I don't know. I haven't quite decided. But that's pretty cool, right? In April, 300 episodes. That's pretty neat. And you can get them all, well, with the exception of the 100 or so episodes of My Other Podcast, you can get them all over at Everything or Else, over on that feed. And you'll get the new ones as they're recorded and put up. The only ones you're not going to get is My Other Podcast unless you're paying $1 a month. That's really all I have, folks. That's it. That's my episode for today. I like doing these little episodes where I don't have an agenda, really. Just me talking to you, and you listening to me. And then me wrapping it up and going in and doing work. That sounds fun, doesn't it? I guess I'll do that. I'm out. Just Another Fanboy is a presentation of the Stephen or Else podcast. Questions and comments can be directed to feedback@stephenorelse.com. You can support the show for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/StephenR. and get instant access to the My Other podcast, a weekly show about whatever crawls its way into my tiny little mind just moments before I tap record. You can find me on the World Wide Web at StephenOrElse.com or find me on Twitter and Instagram by searching for @StephenOrElse. I also encourage you to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and share this episode with a friend. Just Another Fanboy is a proud member of the Comics Podcast Network. You can find that over at comicspodcasts.com. All links will be in the show notes.
Bye-bye, Daddy.
Bye-bye, Daddy.
Good job.